Alrighty. How's it going, y'all? It's Crusading. I have a little bit of a different video here today. Um, I wanted to talk about basically the topic of a video game killer. Um, and before I do that, I'm gonna give my credentials. If I log on to WoW and show you guys my achievements, I was there for the fourth anniversary when I was 7 years old. Before that time, I was playing PS2. There's a lot of examples that I can give. About 3,000 hours in Destiny, about 4,000 hours in Borderlands. There's quite a few games where I can thoroughly explain the topic of this video on by giving examples. So the video game killer topic recently has kind of been pissing me off. And the reason why is because of the way that people go about the conversation of it. So first and foremost, I'm playing New World here, which is an MMO that I've been kind of blowing off to get into because I've seen videos and I see how it looks. It looks great. And I had a lot of other games I wanted to play. Now that I'm playing it though, and now that I've played Lost Ark, and now that, I've still played WoW throughout all these years, even to just give more credentials, right? I go from Dying Light 2 to, Black Ops 3, I got Call of Duties, Cyberpunk, you know, I play a little bit of everything, High on Life, we got Need for Speed racing games, Portal 2. Here's the point in the topic of this video, okay? People have to stop calling games that come out and look similar or in a similar category to another game as like a killer. Like this game was releasing or whatever, and people were like, "Oh, is this a WoW killer? Oh, is this the, with this new X Defiant game that is getting streamed like crazy? Everyone's calling it the new Call of Duty killer." And to break down essentially what people are saying, right, is that it's going to kill the community in the game because the community will be transitioned over to another game. So here's a few things that we have to understand about this. One, gaming companies, like, as crazy as it sounds, have loyal customers. Like, I had so many friends throughout high school who bought every single Bethesda title because in the 2010s to, or in the late 2000s to early 2010, they were fucking shit up. They were going crazy with the games. They were releasing some crazy games. So people were just boom, boom, boom. I'm buying this game. I'm buying this game. I'm buying this game, and that's why Fallout 76 had such that huge outrage because people were like almost like cult fans of that game and that gaming company. They were disappointed. Okay, so here's the point though, right? When people call a game a video game killer, as we're going to call the title, or an enter whatever game killer. So for this example, we're going to go with a WoW killer, okay, because most of my time has been spent on WoW. Playing all these different games, from new to games that have been released by companies that have been doing this shit for years, I'm going to tell you exactly why video game killers don't exist in the way that people make them out to sound like. Basically, when you have a game that releases, like X Defiant or whatnot, you have people who go and are curious to check it out because of what they're seeing about the game, or they have ties to a, certain correlation with the game's process, as far as either marketing or whatever. You either get reached out by a company, hey, open beta, we'll throw you a little bit of money to advertise this on your stream or whatnot, shit like that. But the thing that so many people fail to realize is, because a game operates and does well in an area that another game doesn't, that's backed by a company who's been doing it for years, it's more like a disappointment thing, or like a I'm gonna teach you a lesson almost. Like, I'm not gonna play your game until you fix it, and then maybe you'll get my time on it, type of deal. And I know few gamers are like that, but the thing that hurts the situation with these games the most is getting called whatever the fuck, like a WoW killer. Because not only does it hurt WoW and its community, instead of giving feedback and being patient and, trying to fix the problems and receive a game that's better, they're hurting it by making their community, who wants to see the game get better, go to a different game that, on the looks of what has been portrayed, is doing the stuff better. And it also hurts the game that's getting called the blank or whatever killer, because people who go and play that game have standards as high as, and have it in their head that, the game before that is dying, like, it has all of those. You kind of keep a mental judgment when you're playing this game, like, oh, is this as good as WoW, or is this not really actually the WoW killer? And, you got to look at the different things that really makes WoW what it is, from smoothness, character identity, the art, the graphics. There's quite a few things. Collections are a very dominant thing in WoW. These are a lot of things that took a ton of years in the making to do. The Call of Duty recipe, right? These are all things that have taken years on years to do. So when you're calling a video game killer, it's really harming both of the games that you're talking about, because you're not fully giving a fair open shot to a game that you've never played before. And that's why most of the time I don't even really watch reviews. I look at overall reviews to get an idea, like a general consensus, and then I go about my decision if I want to play it for myself. But calling games killers and whatnot of another game, it's not going to help anything, and it's certainly not going to help the development team when all the fucking community is leaving because another game comes out that's for the time better than the game everyone's leaving from, if that makes any sense. And, it's really just an unfortunate situation when shit like that happens, because most games don't deserve it. There's so many games that came out I can think of that were announced as this killer and that killer, and they ended up being great games, but everyone stopped playing it because of the simple fact that it didn't end up living up to the expectations that were created for it around the hype. And part of that is the hype, but part of that is also the situation that the game gets put in. And altogether, there's no good with, making all these videos about saying this is a killer of this game and whatnot, because you could just appeal to those same audiences by using similar tags, or saying, man, this game looks kind of like WoW or whatever, or this game feels kind of like WoW, or shit like that. But it's the way that it gets put that makes people be like, oh shit, yeah, this is gonna be the killer for sure, and that alone will raise the expectations to a point where it's like, okay, like, how good a game has to be to completely pull a community away. Like, I'm really trying to think. I mean, Fortnite with the battle royales, but it was its own thing. Again, like, Fortnite was its own thing, and it was original in its ideas of its core gameplay. Other than the battle royale. But I mean, that ain't nothing new. Rats on an island. I just don't understand it. I don't understand the. I guess I think I understand the notion of what people are trying to go for. Like, in reality, I think people really just want a game that, performs better than the ones they're struggling with, and they actually want developers to listen to their feedback, like, more often, be more communicative of that. Like, yes, we hear you is everything to people who are waiting for fixes. So it's like, I don't know. Sometimes you really gotta think about the situation. Man, like, okay, is this company that's releasing, say, an MMO? Is it the first time that this company is releasing an MMO? And is this a relatively new gaming company in general? Were they just recently bought out by someone? Like, are their games better or worse now? And are they going to be because they got bought out by someone? Like, these are all things that can affect if a game is a killer. But you have to get everything so perfect so ridiculously close to what it's getting compared to actually be like a killer. Because if you're comparing same with Call of Duty. Like, just because X Defiant comes out doesn't mean X million amount of people are gonna fucking it's crazy. I can't die, bro. I think that guy was stupid high in level, but basically what I'm trying to say though altogether is the compare and contrast with these games are the reason why oftentimes they fail, because if they fail to an audience, they fail in general, because the audience is what contributes to the lifespan and the healthiness of a game. If it's not popular, it's not getting bought, it's not getting talked about, it's not getting much revenue, there's not much money to make extra content to make it better, depending on the budget that they had and how much they actually use. These are serious things that companies can take a huge loss on. And part of me thinks that with some of these games like Activision that they have, that it's somewhat of a lost cause because of this time-gation of the content that people actually want. But part of me also just thinks that gaming might be changing in its path and the way that it does things, as far as like live service, which I have no problem with. Live service games I think are good to a certain extent, but altogether it makes me confused because people would just rather almost see another game kill another game and take its audience because of the simple fact that it runs smoother or this and that and the third one. It doesn't have to be that way, dude. You could just like a game and experience it for what it is. The whole time I was playing this game, like, there were simple things like, oh, I didn't get a mount or whatever, like, I don't have a mount, I have to run around. But instead of, like, being like, oh my gosh, dude, this game, there's no way people were saying this was a WoW killer or whatever, I was like, I wonder why the developers in New World chose to do that. And not only do you have all these fast travels and you can recall to your inn, but they did it so you can go and enjoy the world and go and gather materials and really progress evenly as you go through the levels, which isn't such a bad idea. It isn't. And, maybe there is going to be a game at some time like Fortnite. It's like the Fortnite for MMOs where it's so good it pulls almost every, audience member from every MMO to come and play it. But it still won't be the killer, bro. Because guess what? I mean, I still see people playing H1Z1. I still see people playing PUBG. I still see people playing DayZ, and I still see people playing Fortnite. When you put the time and effort and consideration into a game to make it unique enough to where it's its own thing, then you're chilling. So, I don't know, it angers me, and I just think games overall and developers of games overall would be much better off if people would just keep an open mind and not make so many comparisons. Like, I know it's hard to, right? But you can have a core basis of a gameplay and then add twists onto it that haven't been either exploited or used or what in the category that you're talking about. Like the way that the scaling is evenly almost for your professions and gear and whatnot in this game. If you play the game, exactly how you're supposed to, while you're running past, you're killing stuff, skinning stuff, you hitting trees and whatnot, you're seeing that there's nodes around in even the beginning area that are super high level, so you realize, oh, okay, those will probably get used for like gear and stuff. I should probably start getting this, getting this up, and it's something completely different that WoW doesn't really do a good job at, and is great. And it's not something that killed WoW the same way that this game isn't killed by, like it not having mounts or anything, but that's really about it. I don't understand the whole, the whole spiel about it, dude. It doesn't make any sense, I've been playing games for a while now, and I hate seeing it because there's constantly games that are just up and down. It's like a carnival ride. You see them on Twitch for a little bit, and then they disappear because their audience is like, well, shit, it's not worth the investment. No, the community's falling off, this and that. It's like, it's sad. And I get that to an extent gamers have to do something when they're constantly getting trolled, like in Call of Duty, for example. But the thing to do is not calling a game, like that it's gonna be killed by another game. Is this one of those corruption things? Okay. So instead of doing that shit, just give your honest mind to a new game for what it is in itself, and don't worry about, comparing it to something else or whatnot. Give it a fair shot, and don't what's the word I'm looking for? Don't take away anything from the game just because it's struggling or whatnot. Because you know, you can call a game whatever killer and whatnot. And most of the time, in 3 months, you end up looking back and going, "Wow, I was kind of stupid to be that confident about it," because then you realize it's Call of Duty, it's World of Warcraft, it's back like this. I don't know if this was the case, but when Pathfinder came out, people saying that it was Diablo killer. And how wrong were they? I mean, do people see the pre-orders for Diablo 4? You know? Just little things like that. People just gotta keep an eye on this stuff, bro. And their gaming experience, I'm not even saying this because, like, I think it's funny sometimes seeing that shit, so it's not even like I'm getting tired of, like, seeing all that shit, but it's more so fucking roll here. Dude, why am I just dying so much in the game, bro? And I can't heal either. I'm just getting fucking. Please no. This is so fucking stupid. Get off my ass and let me fucking. Why is this shit that hard? Alright, anyways, there's a lot of things that we as gamers can do instead of just giving this negative feedback and hoping that it improves and whatnot, because what harm or what like help does that do to the game? You know what I'm saying? Like what real in reality, what help does that bring to the game? I did not do jack shit, bro. I don't understand why my head don't do like. Alright, I gotta do myself. That was intense. Bro, did that healing just not do nothing for me? Bro. I ain't got nobody here either, so I'm just like kind of bowling myself. This guy's just like a ram, so I'm just like getting fucked. Dude. I'm not killing this thing, bro. Like, this thing is way too strong. Like, why would you put this in an area and make them my level, but then crack them out to, and like, I thought this is a public event. Like, are there just not people, look, bro. Look, y'all see this shit? Y'all don't see this shit. Y'all don't see this shit. This is crazy to me. Okay. You know what? Fuck this. If you, I'm just gonna literally wait outside till I see someone come and help, because I'm not gonna do that shit by myself. Simply not. So basically, the point of all this is stop calling games killers of other games. It does not help anything. give proper feedback if it's helpful. Constructive communication is always key, even when you're talking to these developers, bro. Like, you know, there's tons of ways that you can contribute here and there and eventually make a change, because, you know, stripping a game, and I'm not necessarily talking about Call of Duty here, because, you know, Activision Blizzard, these big company games are already so big that it doesn't matter, you know. They could fail 3 games in a row and come out with a banger and still be chilling with buku money. I'm talking about these little games, these little company games that come out, and, you know, people start calling them the blank killer and this killer and that killer, and then it ends up killing that game that small little company made because it didn't live up to the expectations that were brought to the table by the community. The mass expectation being let down causes that same community to leave the game, and then that company struggles because they invested all this and whatnot, and it didn't live up to the expectations that the community brought to the table about the game, if that makes sense. And it's like, what are we doing here, guys? Like, we expect Split, like, anyone remember Splitgate? How popular it was when I first came? Where's the community now? What about Godfall? Remember when people said Heroes of the Storm was gonna be the League of Legends killer? What about Valorant being the CSGO killer? What happened to that? Isn't CSGO releasing CSGO 2? You know, these are all things just to keep in mind whenever you're making this judgment, because it will save you a lot of investment, energy, and effort when it comes to these games. You know, this Redfall game or whatever that's coming out by Bethesda, I'm keeping a cautious sign right by my fucking side to pull it out anytime, because, you know, you can't just dive in and then get your hopes let down severely. You know, I did that way too many times already, you know, growing up and playing these games. You know, Call of Duty Ghosts was one of the biggest letdowns for me personally. And also Elder Scrolls Online when it first came out. I'm not gonna lie. But it's just important, you know, it's important to give these games a proper chance for what they are, you know. That's why I downloaded this, because, you know, even though people are saying this doesn't live up to WoW, blah, 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 the end game's not as good, this and that, still here I am playing it. Because every game deserves its own shot, and you can't play an entire game basing it off of another one, especially when if it wasn't even in their end goal to make it exactly like the other game. Like, it's just dumb to base a judgment off of that. So sorry if this felt like a rant. I just felt like people needed to hear this who had that kind of mindset, and I hope it reaches the right audience, because it is getting a little bit annoying seeing that shit all the time. This killer, that killer, and then 2 months later the game dies. There's a reason why it dies, though, and y'all are not helping it. So leave a like if you enjoyed. Comment down below if you have any feedback. You support my argument, you disagree. I'm here to split the tea here. So, adios. Have a good one. Stay safe. And we are out. Peace.